yung are they exempted from the law? The law is clear. It says all public officials before entering the performance of their duties.
So how come
it does not say except the judicial officers? Therefore, the judicial officers are not exempted. That's the answer to the second question. Now, why are they? Why do media?
Why are they getting away with it?
Why can't media have access to it? Because the Supreme Court has ruled so. Now, is that ruling of the Supreme Court in accordance with law? Obviously not. Because while all other public officials...
How can they get away with it?
The answer is already in advance. If they got away with exempting themselves from the investigatory powers of the Ombudsman, why can't they not get away with the statement of assets and liabilities now?
If we allow this again, they're trampling over our rights. They can get away with anything because they become they become stronger, more authoritative than the president, who has the mandate of the whole of the country.
That is both commonsensical and legal sensical.
So, mali ginagawa ng Supreme Court.
You said that, not me.
Grabe
that
naman
is a conclusion on your part.
Pero pwede ba ito, di ba? Ang Supreme Court, Court Absolute nga, Supreme. Eat the back ends here. Kung ano sinabi ko, ganito na yan. How is it we're allowing them to do this?
Let us again simplify for the benefit of your listeners and viewers. That is why your question earlier is very important. The clarity. And that's why I said the only purpose of the judiciary is to clarify the meaning of the law. Why? Because the whole crux of the problem regarding these judicial controversies is based on an important distinction. What is that distinction? The distinction between the clarity and the non-clarity of the law. If the law is clear, there is no room for judicial interpretation. Even if a case reaches the judiciary, it must dismiss because the law is clear.
The law is
Let
clear.
the executive enforce it. So, it is only when the law is not clear, meaning there is a defect in the legislative craftsmanship, or there is a defect in the executive enforcement, that the Supreme Court comes in to clarify this is how this is the proper meaning of the legislative wording of the law, or this is the proper enforcement of the law as written.
Ladies and gentlemen, as much as I'm appearing baffled, yes, I am, because I'm not really a legal mind, although I try to think with consistency and try not to lose myself from one issue to another. Alam mo, I guess comprehension, media, the ability to generate, convey a message has a lot to do with consistency. Now, we're tackling an issue which is basically legal, and no less the topic being the Supreme Court, which is absolute. So it gets a little difficult because if I lose one train of thought while the explanation is being conveyed to me, I will no longer be able to add another question to try and understand or reach my clarificatory requirement. As of now, it's not. The other questions that keep coming up to me. Well, issues like, how have they been able to get away with it? Why has not the legal system, meaning everybody who has studied the law, not doing their job because it's their moral duty, social responsibility, to us who are not of the legal profession, to go after this and correct this? The other night on mainstream TV, I saw Midas Marquez on Channel 2 with the talk, king of talk, so to speak. And the question was very, well, in a sense, I guess, trivial. No? I mean, corrupt ba Supreme Court justices? Pwede ba pagkatiwalaan? When the question really is, why does the Supreme Court even have a spokesperson? I often wondered and asked that question, and of course I already know the answers because I've already been talking to Attorney Paguia, but if you wish to know, stay with us. We'll be right back and we'll disseminate all of these little intriguing thoughts. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. My name is Harry Tambuatco. With us, we have Attorney Alan Paguia. The topic basically is the judiciary and, well, the issues of basically we're muddling when it should be more filled with clarity. I guess the next question is correct. Alan pointed it out to me. The culture of exploitation, how that works when it comes to the courts and how they rationalize their position towards specific interest. Problema, if it's against your interest, then you really have a problem. And then you're sitting there like, kawawa naman ako. Hey, I thought we live in a society that I'm protected with the bounds or the law. In this case, iba na. There is a superpower, and it's called Korte Suprema. They should all have this big S in their shirt with capes instead of those black robes that they carry. Alan, this spokesperson, si Midas Marquez, I like him, I've met him. Isn't it peculiar that the justices, most especially the Chief Justice, si CJ, has a spokesperson? So, he's better than, he's the one who will explain to the media the meaning of the law. Tama ba yun?
It's very wrong.
Yeah, because iba na interpretation di ba?
Exactly. In fact, the title, spokesman of the Supreme Court, if our media practitioners, the reporters or the broadcasters would only go back to Constitution 101, they will realize that nobody is competent to speak for the Supreme Court.
That's what I would think. You know, that's what I always thought, because the minute it is lost in translation when it's transferred to another person, much less not one with the same stature as the Court Justice.
That's right.
Supreme Court Justice.
That's right. He's not even a judicial officer. He's not.
There you
He's
go.
just
There you go.
He's just a bar passer. He's not even probably an author of a legal treatise. And yet, media treats him as if he is the final explainer of what the Supreme Court has decided or resolved. He does not have that authority under the Constitution.
When did we start this position? With
under the VIDE, I think.
The VIDE.
Chief Justice
but
the VIDE.
Is that, dapat hindi?
Before that, there was none.
Ever?
Why? No, none. Because the Supreme Court was, the justices before the VIDE, Chief Justice Hilario David Jr., were very clear about the constitutional components of this issue. Well, the Constitution says that the Supreme Court can speak only through the decisions following the majority vote of the specific numbers of the 15 justices. Meaning, the Supreme Court, the court itself, speaks not through the Chief Justice, not through any of the justices, not through all the justices, but through that decision or resolution signed by the majority decision, by majority judges.
Let's go to the current situation where we had the president way back a couple of weeks ago in the inauguration. The president, the current president, Noynoy, does not seem to have a very sound relationship with the appointed judge. Incidentally, tama ba yung appointment?
Justice?
Si Chief Justice, tama ba yung appointment niya by GMA? Before we go further, tama ba na-appoint si Corona by GMA, the president, on her way out? Is that legal, illegal? First, before we go forward.
All right. The answer is, I have reviewed Article 8 on the Judicial Department. There are 16 sections. I did not find any provision where the sovereign Filipino people who ratified the Constitution granted Mrs. Arroyo or the President any authority to appoint the Chief Justice.
Who appoints the Chief Justice?
There is no provision. What is provided for is that the President may nominate and appoint the members of the Supreme Court. And there are 15 members. But a member is not necessarily Chief Justice.
So, kung walang appointing body, again, gray area yan of 1957 Constitution.
Then the provision becomes non-clear.
Oh, non-clear.
So, if it is non-clear, then it is a proper subject for judicial interpretation.
Ayun, dapat sila. Did they interpret then as a collegiate
Nobody
body?
has raised the question.
But I've read in many media articles in print, and I've heard one or two analysts on TV, well, political analysts, say that, tama yan, sinabi ng Supreme Court. I found myself even mentioning it once, and I have to apologize to the viewers. I did mention it once that, yes, the Supreme Court justices convened as a collegiate body and said,